CEC's agriculture. Your Excellency, we have about close to 33 county governments that grow coffee, and we have a representation of the entire team of CEC's coffee. Then we also have the deputy governors. I may have forgotten, a number of the governors may have also sent in their deputy governors. And you, deputy governors, that is Deputy Governor Machakos, Deputy Governor Nyeri. Nyeri is here with the governor. Deputy Governor Kirinyaga, pigia makofi pia, representing the governor. Any other deputy governor have left? Asanteni sana. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Whip. Your Excellency, sitaki kuchukua muda mrefu. Langu ni kuwakaribisha nyote Meru. Our mantra is making Meru happy. And we believe that this is the beginning. Umetunukia baraka ya kufanya hii conference hapa. Tunakushukuru sana. And we believe that this will not be the first and the last. We have other crops kama majani, miraa, mandizi, na tunajua kwa sababu hii ni mwanzo tu, utatutembelea tena na tena, tuwe na kikao kama hiki. We don't take it for granted. Ni Mungu ametutunikia baraka. Kwa hivyo letu ni kuombea uongozi wako. Wewe ni Jabaito ya Mount Kenya. We have only you in Mount Kenya that you are planning good things for us. Tunasema Mungu akubariki sana, pamoja na serikali ya rais wetu Daktari William Samoei Ruto. Na tumeamua kama wa Meru, sisi barabara ni hiyo. Ukisema right, tunaenda right. Ukisema left, tunaenda left. Na tukihimiza watu wetu ya kwamba hii serikali ambayo inaongozwa na rais wetu na Jabaito ilaibere hito mothe, we must support. We must support kwa kila njia, kwa kila haina. Na ndio umeona tumetokea wengi hivi. It's only that the space is not enough. Tungekuja wengi sana, but we've picked few members ama leaders ambao watawakilisha wengine. Tunasema tunasupport agenda zote za serikali, na karibu tena na tena na tena. Tumefurahia sana uongozi wenu, na sisi tuko hapo kutii sheria na kusema ya kwamba God bless you mightily. Your Excellency, ninapoenda kuketi, naomba tu hii siwe mwanzo. Kuja tena tuna other crops, leo ni kahawa, tunaamini kutakuwa na mwelekeo. Na at the end of the day, ile kitu tunahitaji ni pesa mifukoni. Kufukuza katero ni pesa tutaweka kwa mifuko. Kuarrange na kuweka good policies za coffee ni pesa tutaweka kwa mfuko. Kwa hivyo tuko kwako leo, tupatie mwongozo, tupatie mwelekeo. Hii jeshi iko nyuma yako, sisi tuko nyuma yako, tusongeshe Kenya yetu mbele, na Meru must be happy. God bless you. Nachukua hii nafasi nimkaribishe waziri kijana wetu Rentore, ndio naye aweze kukukaribisha. Asante sana. Makofi kwa kijana wetu.
Asante sana mama gavana wetu, Mheshimiwa naibu wa rais, mawaziri wale tulio na hapa, Mheshimiwa Chelugui, mangavana wetu, seneta wetu Kadhuri Murungi, wabunge wa hapa Meru, deputy governor, viongozi wote wale wamefika hapa, na bila kusahau ma-PSs wote wale wetu wametoka Nairobi kuja kuwa na sisi, na viongozi wa wakulima wa kahawa. Bwana asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe tena. Kwanza wacha ni wakaribishe hapa Meru, sababu hapa ndipo nimezaliwa, na niunge gavana mkono kwa kusema ya kwamba mmekaribishwa hapa, na tuko na furaha kuwa na nyinyi hapa siku ya leo. Naibu wa Rais, this is your second home from Nyeri. Feel comfortable, and we are happy to have you with us this day. let me thank you most sincerely for taking the lead in organizing and making sure that we assemble the coffee stakeholders here today for us to have a candid, robust discussion on how we can revive the coffee sector. I am happy that from this particular meeting and with the attendance of the various stakeholders that are here today, whatever challenge that is identified, the impediment, whatever makes it difficult for this sector to get back to where it was in those early years of 70s and 80s, this forum will come up with a solution that will guide the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock in doing what it's supposed to do to ensure that our coffee farmers are able to get good money for their coffee. Our farmers are able to get back to their farms and be able to increase the productivity of coffee. I remember in those early or late years of 1980s, we used to produce around 130,000, 128,000 metric tons of coffee. Today, our coffee production has declined to the 30s. That is the figures for 2021, 2020-21. Our production for coffee was around 34,000 metric tons. So we want to understand where did the rain start beating us. We want to understand from this forum what is it that government can do so that we are able to get back our coffee, our farmers get the best value for what they do. I want to believe and share some experience, Your Excellency, that most of the leaders that are sitting with us here today are products of the money that came from coffee. The people that we have in most offices, their fees in one way or another must have been paid by a cooperative society. I must confess that when I was in school, we would only take that slip showing how many kilos of coffee that you had delivered to a certain cooperative society. And your school fees would be guaranteed, you will not be chased away from school, and you would get education. That is how coffee was organized. That's how most of the people were able to get to school. But how we lost it, I am happy to be sitting here with my officers from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock to listen to the coffee farmers that are sitting here, to the leaders of the various cooperative societies that are with us here, to give us our share, ideas on how we can do it better. And I want to say that we are not in a hurry. We want to listen to you, and in the spirit of our Constitution, and that whatever we think or whatever we want to do on behalf of the people, we must always consult and have the participation of the people. So this coffee conference here in Meru today gives us an opportunity to extensively engage the coffee farmers and the coffee stakeholders in coming up with homegrown solutions of the challenges and the problems that face the coffee sector. If it is about the legislation, if there is any area that is weak, we have the members of parliament that will do what is required of them to pass the right legislative proposals that will come out of a recommendation of this forum so that we are able to have the necessary force of law to implement the growth of the coffee sector. It is not in doubt that agriculture is an evolved function. I'm happy my partners that we work so closely with, who are the governors, are all represented here. And I'm happy that the governors are here. We work quite closely. We want even to engage more so that we are able now, out of the resolutions that are made from this conference here in Meru, we will be able to pick out what is required of each part of government, whether it's the national or the county government, to be able to bring back our farmers to the farms, what we can be able to do to ensure there is high yield, there is quality of the coffee that we require, that will be able to fetch us good markets for our coffee. But I want to believe that from this forum, we will be able to have a solution of the challenges that have faced the coffee sector for a long time. Out of this forum, because we have the practitioners, we will be able to share with us what you think is what we need to do. As the technocrats from the ministry, I want you people from the ministry and the HAFA to open your ears and listen. Today is not about the theories or what we think in offices is what can be done. We have the practitioners, we have the people who practice farming, who can be able to tell us. We have the cooperative we have the cooperative leaders who aggregate coffee, who know where the problem is. Let us open our minds. Let us open our ears. Let us listen to them. Let them tell us what they want us to do so that we can get our coffee sector back to track. Your Excellency, allow me to thank you so sincerely for organizing this forum. Out of this forum, my work becomes easier. And I am so happy as the implementing agency of the recommendations that will come from this forum. We will do it to the letter. We will do it for the best interest of the people. And because I know, just like most of members, one member mentioned, if there are any cartels, I don't think there is any cartel that can be able to fight the deputy president and the president, because these are the drivers of this agenda. So with those very many remarks, let me say I want to end there and ask my good friend, the Minister for Cooperatives, Mr. Chelugui, to come and say a few words as well. Karibu Mheshimiwa Chelugui, Minister Cooperatives. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my colleague, CS Agriculture, Medical and Turi, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable Gachagua, Governor Kawira Mwangaza, Governor wetu wa Meru, all distinguished governors present in the room, including the whip and our chair of UDA and Embu governor. The principal secretary is present. I can see PS Cooperatives, Patrick Lemi, and also PS Compudo, and all the PSs, the senators present in the room, the members of parliament, led by Mheshimiwa Dawood, MP for Imenti North, and all the members of parliament present, the women reps, all the deputy governors present in the room, all the members of the county assembly led by their speakers, the respective chief executive officer, CECs from all the counties represented, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Hamjambo. Mheshimiwa Naibu wa Rais, leo ni siku muhimu sana kwetu sisi kama Wizara ya Kilimo na Wizara ya Ushirika, kwa sababu hii kongamano ni ya kipekee. Kwa sababu tangu mbeleni tumekuwa tunategemea kahawa kwa kusalishaji wa kahawa katika kupitia ushirika na estates. We've empowered our people. We have empowered Kenyans over 6 million Kenyans rely and depend on this value chain. Beyond production, there are others along the value chain who have benefited from this crop. And for that reason, Your Excellency, I want to sincerely and personally thank His Excellency, the President, Dr. William Ruto, and yourself for taking the first step. Given our conversation last year, this matter of guaranteed minimum return was actually about this value chain and the milk and the rest. So, as I begin my remarks, Your Excellency, I only don't know whether I have recognized all the PSS present. Yes. So, Your Excellency, we've had a conversation. Following your guidance, you remember we met in Nanyuki, and we were directed to meet with the Council of Governors. We had a meeting in Mombasa. We left Mombasa. We reported in the summit in Naivasha. And later on, we came up with recommendation. So, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, allow me to just come up with a context of the issues that we would like in the end of this conference to at least be able to guide our resolutions and be able to give a way forward, at least something that we can take home and utilize. Your Excellency, I'm delighted to be here in this coffee conference, a significant milestone in our coffee revitalization agenda. Today, I want to highlight the importance of coffee subsector and our commitment to strengthening institutions within the Ministry of Cooperative and MSME and also the Ministry of Agriculture, and by extension, the Ministry of Trade. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda envisions a productive agriculture sector powered by smallholder farmers along the key value chains with the overall aim of reducing the dependence on basic food imports and revitalization of export crops such as coffee. Under the better coffee sector is one of the cash crops identified for revitalization, as it has been a key contributor to the national and rural economy in terms of foreign exchange earnings, improvement of farmers' incomes, and their livelihoods. Your Excellency, my colleague has talked about where we've come from. Those days, we had a national production of over 130,000 metric tons, making this really a black cold for our people. Today, we dropped down to 34,000 metric tons. And the government of that time reviewed the situation and came up with some recommendations. Some of them have worked, some of them have not worked. We would want to pick on the success story and push the agenda of coffee production in Kenya. Your Excellency, in the year 2021-2022, there was a remarkable improvement in production where the total production increased to 51,852 metric tons. That is, the estates contributed 15,533 and the smallholder cooperatives produced 36,999 metric tons, representing a growth of 50.24%. This was attributed to, among other factors, provision of subsidized fertilizer through the new KPCU. If this trend continues, Your Excellency, the dream of achieving 200,000 metric tons within the next 4 years could indeed become a reality. Your Excellency, to put this to context, whereas the national average production in the country is estimated to be 2 kilos per coffee bush or a tree, in this county of Meru, and I'm happy Mheshimiwa Daud was able to introduce, we have farmers here in Meru. And if time allows, we could also make a visit, a farm visit to one of these leading farmers to just experience how this is happening here in Embu. It can be replicated in the rest of the country. We have farmers producing up to 35 kilos per tree. If that happens, we have 108,000 hectares of under coffee in Kenya. And if we were, on average per acre we have about 500 trees. If each tree could even give us 7 kilos, we could achieve our target, our projected national production, by just improving extension services, the farm inputs, farm management, and supervision of production. Your Excellency, a testament that if all the systems are effectively running in the coffee subsector, Kenya has the potential to be among the top 5 leading coffee producers in the world. Early this year, Your Excellency, the Ministry of Cooperative and MSME Development organized a benchmarking visit to Colombia. Being the 3rd largest producer of coffee in the world, provided valuable insight into the factors contributing to their success. Upon return from the visit to Colombia, I appointed a technical working group to study and report on the lessons learned from the visit. Your Excellency, we were accompanied by Governor Kaiga of Nyeri and Governor Ken Lusaka of Bungoma. The team made several observations and recommendations to guide our efforts in revitalizing the subsector. Allow me, Your Excellency, I know this will be coming up in our presentation, but allow me to just make a few highlights of the observations and lessons learned from that visit. Both Kenya and Colombia produce mild Arabica coffee, which holds great value in international coffee market. And this was highlighted by the visit of the Vice President of Colombia, who made a courtesy call to you, and we agreed on our way forward, including memorandum of understanding. I would be appealing to you, Your Excellency, if time allows, you also make time to benchmark and visit, and as you lead this sector, at least you can have the background and knowledge of how others have done it. It will be very good so that we are all talking from the same page. Your Excellency, in Colombia, farmers deliver parchment coffee to their National Federation of Coffee Growers of Colombia, commonly known as FNC, where quality evaluation takes place and farmers are paid immediately. In contrast, Kenya farmers deliver coffee cherry to cooperative processing facilities and have to wait for long periods for the cherry to be processed into clean coffee and sold and be paid. The second observation, Your Excellency, was the FNC of Colombia has established strong financial infrastructure and human capacity base supported by federal government. Consequently, they face no liquidity problems in paying farmers. This stands in contrast to Kenya, where financial challenges arising from minimal or no savings by the cooperative societies often restrict timely payments to coffee farmers. In Colombia also, FNC operates purchase guarantee mechanism, ensuring daily parchment prices for coffee farmers based on empirical formulas and the New York Coffee Exchange. This guarantees the purchase of all coffee produced. In addition, FNC ran Coffee Price Stabilization Fund, meant to cushion farmers in the event of drastic price fluctuation. In Kenya, such structures and funding are lacking and ought to be considered. Your Excellency, in Kenya, coffee is paid in dollars through auctions and direct sales. However, the payment to farmers is made in Kenya shillings by marketing agents, cooperative societies, and the banks. Sensitizing these entities to pay farmers in dollars or equivalent of the prevailing dollar exchange rate at the time of payment to the farmer. Additionally, the timing of payments can be improved with the introduction of the direct settlement system, which is now under discussion, Your Excellency, or consider parchment advances and faster processing. It is possible from that experience that we can commit ourselves upon delivery of coffee cherry in our primary processing plants to assure the farmer of payment within 30 or 45 days. That is a possibility that we can discuss and agree, and we can guarantee farmers. Look at the dairy sector. When Meru Dairy committed to pay farmers on the 5th of every month, the milk production in Meru has become a product, a leader in the country. We could do the same in coffee, and we can do the same in other value chains. Your Excellency, Colombia boasts of robust coffee research and technology transfer system supported by 30 PhD researchers driving the research. In Kenya, the Coffee Research Foundation or a Coffee Research Institute faces funding constraints limiting its services and technology transfer. We are still surviving as a country because of Ruiru 2, a product of Coffee Research Institute. Without the research and science-led production, we could as well close shop as far as coffee is concerned. It is therefore my appeal to this conference, Your Excellency, that we make consideration in finding formulas and ways of funding our research institution. We need to bring a collaboration between leading research institutions like Seni Cafe of Colombia and the Coffee Research of Kenya. Colombia has successfully implemented simple and patented technology and equipment throughout the coffee value chain. They are also supported by 1,500 extension officers. A fact, and I'm happy that, Your Excellency, today we have our governors. Cooperative extension services has been devolved. It is possible that working together with our governors, we can ask our county governments to recruit and deploy cooperative officers and extension officers. And the common brand of Colombia, the Joan Valdez. In contrast, in Kenya, So Rich, So Kenyan brand has not received widespread promotion, and the country lacks international coffee promotion prizes. The local coffee consumption in Colombia is 40%, in Kenya is 5%. Your Excellency, through these insights gained from Colombia experience, I see an opportunity in the following areas, which I would like to propose that as we continue discussing, Your Excellency, that this conference make consideration. The strengthening of the farmers' institutions. We have come up with the farmers' entities like NACHU, National Coffee Cooperative Union, the KPCU, Grower Coffee Millers Milling, the Commodity Fund, the Kenya Farmers Association, provision of certified farm inputs, tools and equipment. You remember the days, Your Excellency, KFA was the institution of choice as far as farm inputs was concerned. The strengthening governance structures and institutions by implementing robust accountability. We've had a serious problem, Your Excellency, in our societies. We have had big cooperatives like Odaya Farmers, Mokurueni Farmers, all of them actually coming down because of the liberalization that we experienced in the 90s. This could have been the reason why we have lost our production. To address production in the country, the supply of subsidized farm inputs as fertilizer, agrochemicals, and lime ought to be prioritized. The new KPCU, KFA, and cooperative society could be used as special purpose vehicles to distribute crops, to distribute the farm inputs. We need to enhance the capital market authority. Our biggest, the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the management of the sales and auction of our coffee. And we can introduce an independent agency, and Capital Markets Authority have played that role. They've done very well, and we look forward that this could be utilized. So, Your Excellency, as I go to conclude, we need to prioritize restructuring of Nairobi Coffee Exchange. This coffee exchange, Nairobi Coffee Exchange, Your Excellency, has no representation of the farmers, of the government, and there is need for us to make clear, conscious interest, take conscious interest on what happens in that coffee exchange. We need a regulator of what happens in that exchange. There is need to develop empirical formula for experts like Kipra, derived from international commodity pricing, such as New York Coffee Exchange. so that we can have proper price discovery. Structure the fund coffee research by maybe levying a percentage on the production so that we can be able to fund that program. The high indebtedness, an issue that Governor Cecily Mbarira has been pushing. The high indebtedness among our county mills, like Embu Mills, Machakos Mills, among others. We have also a mill in Baringo. I propose, Your Excellency, a waiver of all the interest accrued as an incentive to promote coffee milling at the county levels and also complementing other bigger millers such as the new KPCU and others. Your Excellency, I also propose through the Cabinet Memorandum to address and finalize the liquidation of the new KPCU by meeting the outstanding debts so that we can have that mill fully in the hands of the farmers. I also want to propose, Your Excellency, that there is a working team between the Ministry of Cooperative, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade, and the Council of Governors to be able to take up this assignment so that as you drive this agenda, we have a working team because this agenda is agenda of Kenya. So, as I conclude my remarks, Your Excellency, the coffee regulations cannot go unmentioned. I want to thank you personally that you intervene on the regulations that control the auctioning and selling of coffee. And AFA, an institution under the Ministry of Agriculture, was able to take up that order. And now, today, we have licensed more traders, more dealers, more participants in our coffee exchange. Capital Markets Authority now are back, and we need to enhance and entrench their participation. The only issue I have with that bill, Your Excellency, that the Coffee Bill 2023 is before Senate, and I wish to make a few recommendations before consideration of its enactment. The Ministry of Cooperative and Development is conspicuously missing in that bill. 85% of Kenya's coffee is largely produced through cooperative societies and smallholder estates, which require heavy involvement of the parent ministry. The role of the Ministry of Cooperatives in aggregation, marketing, and sales need to be also considered. Milling, warehousing, we have through KPCU warehouses in Meru, in Sagana, in Bungoma, in Kisumu, Nakuru, and even Nairobi and Mombasa. Again, this could help the farmers. We do not have to spend more money in building other warehouses. The composition of the Coffee Board of Kenya, Your Excellency, we propose the reconstitution and re-establishment of the Coffee Board of Kenya. This institution, when it was alive and working, the coffee, there was an oversight, there was a supervisor, there was a regulator, specifically to deal with the coffee value chain. It is our prayer and hope that we have representation from the National Cooperative Coffee Union and also 3 other members who are involved in coffee. One also in the coffee exchange, in the CRI, and the key institutions of coffee, coffee. So last but not least is recognition of other critical farmers-oriented institutions, and as I said, National Cooperative Coffee Union, a formation by farmers, and the National Cooperative Coffee Exporters, again an organization of farmers. As a nation that values entrepreneurship and community cooperation, the Ministry of Cooperative and MSME Development plays a pivotal role in driving economic growth, job creation, and empowerment. My ministry is committed to strengthening these institutions, promoting the role of the cooperatives, and supporting the coffee subsector. Together, we can drive economic growth, create opportunities, and achieve sustainable development of our country. Your Excellency, before I invite you, among us, we have just received CS Moses Kuria, who is also my classmate. And I have a lot I can say. At least he has done a lot, very good things since university, and I think he still has a lot for Kenya. I want to take this opportunity to invite him here to make a few remarks. I also want to recognize the party leader of Jubilee, Honorable Sabina Chege, who is also in the room. Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, my colleague, Minister Mithika Linturi, Minister Simon Chelugui, members of the Senate, National Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am delighted to be here today. Just yesterday, CS Linturi and myself were in a very far-off country known as Belarus. And we had to use all means possible to get here because we deem that this meeting is extremely important. I'm not just here as a cabinet secretary, I'm here as a stakeholder in coffee. And I always say that my late father left only 2 inheritances to me. One is P.O. Box 237 Gatundu. I'm one of the very few people who had a post office box. And the other one is membership number 402 in Magomano Coffee Factory. So I was educated through coffee, and I know that coffee has brought so many of us here. Unajua kuna wengine wamekuja kwa chai kama Kadhuri, wengine kwa miraa kama Linturi, lakini mimi niko hapa kwa sababu ya kahawa. Your Excellency, this year Kenya will import 700,000 metric tons of edible oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and from such countries. But Kenya will only export 40,000 metric tons of coffee. If we want a statement of how much work there is to do, look no further, that we are going to spend over $1 billion to import edible oil from other countries and only export 40,000 metric tons of the black gold. You remember the black gold of Chepkube. And so there is a lot of work to be done. First on production, but being from this region, I do not think that production is really the problem. Our people are extremely hardworking. Our people are actually human tractors. So all we need to do is to put money on the table. Once we put money on the table, then our people will farm. And by the way, I have never seen, especially people from the counties which are in this region, anything that has money that they did not make efforts to produce, including quails, you remember? Yeah? So just show them the money and they will be there right ahead of us. That is why I am delighted with the comments made by my brother CS Cherugui, that it's actually me and him who need to put the way, to lead the way, to put money into coffee, to create markets, and to create higher price for our farmers. Then now we can turn to our brother Linturi and tell him, despite putting money on the table, there was no production. And I don't think that is a problem. So I want to reiterate what CS Cherugui has said. First, in terms of the coffee reforms, which we supported, it is one of the very few things that the previous government and us who are sort of the unofficial opposition to that government, at least we saw that in common. And I remember when CS Munya was launching his roadshow on coffee, despite our huge differences, I'm the one who hosted him in Gatundu for the first meeting. And that time, I think Kaduri, we were together, we hosted a meeting of the members of parliament from coffee growing areas in Safari Park. And we said that when it comes to issues of coffee, when it comes to putting money on the table, there cannot be a disagreement. And we are going to work together. So now, as fate would have it, we are now in government. And so what we are asking that government to do is what we are going to do. To begin with, on the issue of the marketing, on the coffee auction, I want to say that even from my ministry, we have got a commodity exchange, and we are fast-tracking it. We have set ourselves a target of next month. We need just some little intervention, Your Excellency, which I will be looking for you to assist us to operationalize commodity exchange, so that the commodity exchange will be the first parallel coffee auction that we are going to have. So that at least we can compare. Mtu achague, do you want to be in that exchange or this other exchange? Secondly, as you have been following what we have been saying as government, is that starting from the next 3 weeks, we are rolling out a county aggregation and industrial park in all the 47 counties. The first 14 counties were advertised some 3 weeks ago. The tenders are actually closing today as we speak, and I'm happy to be here in Meru, where the first of the one of the 14 counties is Meru. So once we award this tender for the aggregation park just here in Bode, it is mandatory, and I've made it very clear to my ministry and to the Council of Governors that within the county aggregation and industrial park, we will work with the county governments to give them the equipment and the machinery that they need so that they can be able to add value and to process their coffee from right here. And so that we can be able to uplift it from here to our various export processing zones. And indeed, we are setting up warehouses for export in all countries. There is a very huge market for our coffee, starting with Africa. We are putting a lot of effort to open the African market and the other emerging market. Even countries like Indonesia, I was in Indonesia the other day, and we agreed to do joint branding of our coffee with Indonesian coffee. So we are going to do what we need to do to ensure that we expand the markets, we expand value addition, we expand agro-processing. And I want to say that now that Cherugu is here, we had the 3 billion shillings which we passed, I think, in the 2018-2019 budget for the cherry fund. I want to recommend, if it is possible, that we see how we can create a special, now that we have moved to the second level of the Hustlers Fund, can we also now create a special Hustler Fund for coffee so that the cherry fund can be accessed through the Hustler Fund, through the transparency of the mechanism that we have created on the Hustler Fund. Finally, Your Excellency, is on the issue of inputs. We have done very well. As we speak, we have got 5 million farmers we've registered on our fertilizer subsidy program, very successful program. Over 2 million bags have been distributed. 10 billion shillings worth of fertilizers have gone to the farmers through this program. And I think it's about time that we also expand this subsidy program to include other farm inputs so as to boost our productivity. I want to see us do that on pesticides and on all other inputs that are required here. Ladies and gentlemen, all these things require money as I finish. And that money, only coffee will grow from trees. The other money will come from our pockets. So when we talk about things like the finance bill, it is because we need that finance bill to be directed to schemes like this. So I have seen that my good friend, the chair of the Coffee Caucus, Honorable Wamushomba, is on the list. So the reason why I want you, Wamushomba, to support the finance bill is so that we can be able to get money to carry out some of these programs. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Moses, waziri wetu wa biashara. I also have seen Mheshimiwa Karu Murungara. I think we had not been introduced. And I've also seen Mheshimiwa Wamushomba is also in the room. Your Excellency, the organized 70 members of parliament organized the caucus. Mheshimiwa Mutunga is here. He was also the whip, and all the members who attended that function, 70 of them. It tells you it's a national issue. It's a national debate. It's a national concern by the House, by the executive, and the farmers. As I go to introduce His Excellency, when we went to Rwanda for the Africa coffee producers, I picked one lesson. The Republic of Uganda, the President of Uganda, made a national pronunciation that in 5 years, Uganda should be 500,000 metric tons. All the county assembly members, all the members of parliament, all farmers were rallied. To date, Uganda is the second largest coffee producer in Africa. It is possible through this conference, Your Excellency. We are not late. The time is now. We can come up with a resolution and a pronouncement that can push our production and push the mechanism and institutions that manages this value chain. And for sure, Kenya will not be the same again. With those many remarks, Your Excellency, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, I'll request you to be upstanding as we welcome our Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, to make his remarks and address this conference. Your Excellency, the Deputy President.
Thank you. Please be seated. The Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, my brother Mithika Linturi, the Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives, Small and Medium Enterprises, the Honorable Simon Chelgui, the Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, the Honorable Moses Kuria, Excellencies Governors present, our host Governor Kawira Mwangaza, Honorable Members of the Senate and the National Assembly, the Principal Secretaries present, Chairs of various parliamentary committees and caucus, the academia, members of the cooperative movement, and the most important people in this conference, our distinguished farmers, good morning. God is good, and all the time. Mnisalimie kwa haya. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Bwana Yesu asifiwe tena. I register my appreciation to you for turning up for this Coffee Stakeholders Conference in the great country of Meru, which is on the eastern slopes of Mount Kenya. Converging in Meru for this critical meeting is significant. From this county, one of the regions whose men and women fought for Kenya's independence, and the greatest farmers of all time, we must resolve to liberate and dignify the coffee farmer by delivering economic freedom. For the next 2 days, we'll establish structures for long-term reforms in the coffee subsector. Distinguished guests and farmers, in the Executive Order number 1 of 2023, President William Ruto tasked me with overseeing public reforms, reforming the coffee, tea, and dairy subsectors, and this has formed part of my work. I have engaged stakeholders like yourself towards a turnaround to profitability. Distinguished farmers, this summit is a climax of wide consultations with farmers, various state and non-state agencies in the country and outside on sustainable reforms. For far too long, those who sweat most in producing the cash crop have benefited the least. And that is why we are here today, to make sure that those who toil most benefit the most, and those who do little benefit little along the way. We want to link the farmer to the consumer directly and do away with a big chain of middlemen between the farmer and the consumer. From the engagements, we have identified legal, policy, and operational gaps in the production and marketing chain. This is a key component of the output of this conference. Distinguished farmers, we are in full gear to delivering results in the coffee subsector, and the Ruto administration was elected on the promise of uplifting those at the bottom of the development stratum. With the high cost of Kenyan coffee in the international market, it is unacceptable that the Kenyan farmer gets almost nothing. The Kenyan farmer, therefore, should thrive economically, as it was the case years back. Our farmers must get maximum returns from their hard work. This will also boost our foreign exchange. We must rewrite history of the Kenyan coffee, which dates back to 1894. This brand was and still is known across the world by its superior and distinct aroma and flavor. President William Ruto and I have zero vested interest beyond saving the farmer. Indeed, coffee is a legacy crop for the Kenya Kwanza administration under Dr. William Ruto. Distinguished farmers, an estimated 800,000 smallholder growers in about 525 cooperative societies are waiting in hope. All eyes are glued to Meru. Farmers across the country are waiting the outcome of this conference. This Meru conference must midwife long-term and sustainable farmer-centered reforms in the coffee subsector. Distinguished guests, for this forum to achieve its goal, we need to collectively examine the current situation, and I invite all of you to speak openly and candidly in an interactive summit. I may just want to add a little and say, coffee production is down, and Mythical Inturi doesn't need to do much to increase production. Coffee production went down because farmers were getting nothing. There is no way you can continue putting inputs, putting labor into something, and you get nothing. The Honorable Moses Kuria, like myself, we are all products of this subsector. We went to school with the coffee proceeds. In the late 70s when we were young boys, and the early 80s when we were in high school, when you were admitted to a high school, the headmaster would interview your parent to ascertain whether you will be a problem in terms of paying school fees or not. And the headmaster would ask one question: do you have coffee? Once you said yes, you would be admitted to the school without any further question. Because a membership number of a cooperative society was much more credible than a banker's check today. Because coffee had returns And it is working. It was working. We saw it work. We went to school through coffee proceeds, and today we are here. If it worked then, it must work now. And that is why we are here. Good people. History will judge you kindly. If from this conference you come up with practical and pragmatic suggestions on what we need to do to restore the coffee subsector and put money in the pocket of the coffee farmer. Honorable Moses Kuria and Chelugui, once you do what you must do, market our coffee at good prices, and the farmers get a commensurate return, production will be increased automatically without any further effort. That is the truth. The whole of this equation, the whole of all this trouble in the coffee subsector will be resolved by marketing and getting the right prices and removing the middlemen between the farmer and the consumer. Once that is done, as a country, we are sorted. Coffee used to be #1 foreign exchange earner for this country. Today, I think we are poor fifth. Once we get the prices right, once we remove the middlemen, which we must remove, once the farmer is empowered in a commensurate manner, coffee production will go up, the prices will be good, we'll export the coffee across the world, we'll get sufficient foreign exchange earnings, and our economy is sorted. So this coffee conference will not only just sort out the coffee farmer, but will sort out the greater Kenyan economy. Therefore, I have a few things that I want you to look into. And when the president asked me to do this work, he asked me to do it for 3 reasons. 1, he gave a commitment to the people of Kenya that will sort out the Kenyan farmer, and he needed it sorted out. He asked me to coordinate the various ministries because 1, I am passionate about coffee because I'm a product of coffee earnings. So this for me is personal. Other than being deputy president, it's personal for me because I saw it work. And if it worked then, it'll work. The president also asked me to do it because he knows me. 1, I have 0 interest in the subsector. 2, I am incorruptible. Nobody can offer me anything in this world to remove me from the path of coffee reforms to get money into the pockets of the farmers. So I want to tell all those people who have been eating money from the farmers, the cartels, the middlemen, your time is up. Your time is up. You must give way and align with us, or we get you out. You must agree that it's not business as usual. This administration of William Ruto is the administration that will sort out the issues of coffee cartels, tea cartels, milk cartels, and restore the dignity of the Kenyan farmer. And I want to say in broad daylight, I've seen all the cameras are here. I want to make an announcement to all those people who have been living on the sweat of the coffee farmers that what you have gotten is enough and is sufficient. You can reinvest it elsewhere. Going further, you must get just what is due to you. A little percentage, 90-95% must go to the coffee farmer. Na tukikubaliana, We don't want to get you out of the way. We want us to work together. I want this conference to consider radical reforms in the coffee exchange, which has been a ping-pong game among the very players. I want you to look at it, and why we have members of the National Assembly here, we have the members of the Senate, we have the county governors here, is that whatever recommendations you come up with, we'll have a legislative proposal to anchor them in law. Then President William Ruto and I and these three good ministers will do everything possible to implement those reforms to the letter for the benefit of the farmer. I want you to look at the issues surrounding the Coffee Board of Kenya, because when Coffee Board of Kenya was there, things were working. When the subsector and others were all grouped together, they were not able to be accorded sufficient attention, and along the way we got in trouble. I want to ask this conference to look at the Coffee Research Institute. What was in Roiro, called the Coffee Research Foundation then, today is a pale shadow of its former self. And that is one of the areas the rain began beating us. Research is important. We must come up with recommendations. When we are looking at the coffee cess, what percentage will go to support the Coffee Research Institute so that it can be our institution of first visit to get the quality of our seedlings right, to deal with the issue of coffee berry diseases, to deal with the various challenges around coffee farming. I want to request you to consider proposing to these members of parliament on how to streamline marketing. As it is today, it's unacceptable that the very people who are marketing are also millers. They are also roasters. It cannot work. That is how the coffee farmer has been exploited. We know they register different companies, but they are the same people. And they are the same people who sit at the coffee exchange. They are the marketers, they are the millers, they are the sellers, they are the buyers. Huyu mkulima si ameisha. And they are the brokers. That will be sorted out in Meru. And why did I choose Meru? Meru is the land of the brave and the courageous. Yes. Difficult decisions will be made here. They'll hurt a few people, but the majority will be happy. And we are sorry for the few people who will be hurt along the way. Lakini lazima mkulima apate haki yake. So watu 5, 10 wakiumia kidogo, marupurupu yao ipungue, hakuna hasara tutaenda kubwa. We want you to discuss the Coffee Cherry Fund, CS Cherugui, that fund for 3 billion. Moses Kuria and I, we have been complaining. The uptake has been very slow. There must be a problem. Please sit down. Let's look why. How would we have 3 billion? We have only absorbed 500,000. And people need money, isn't it? There must be a problem about the whole structure, about the whole architecture on how to avail that money to the coffee farmer. This conference must sort it out. And that is why it's a 2-day conference. I want to put your notice, we'll work deep into the night. We'll work tomorrow deep into the night. We have 2 days and nights to sort out this coffee thing and this maneno forever. Na hakuna mtu amekuja hapa na mtoto ananyonyesha. Hakuna mtu wako na mtoto kwa mgongo. Na yule yako naye atapatia nyanya yake amshikie for the time being. So that we work late and we work very methodically, issue by issue. And by the time we leave here, we have the new interventions. Then these good members of the National Assembly, the chairman of Agriculture is here. The Senate is here. And I told Senate, slow down on the Coffee Bill 2023. Wait for this caucus. This is another very serious public participation now. Because these ones are not just the ordinary farmer. It's everybody who is who in the coffee subsector. So we'll get all the laws. The Senate bill will incorporate what comes from here. then we go to the National Assembly, to the Senate, we get the right laws, then hiyo itakuwa ni kibarua ya rais na mimi na hao mawaziri wetu na ma-PSs to implement it to the letter. You must discuss about KPCU. KPCU was a success story. Along the way, it is moribund. How do we get KPCU to what it was? To the benefit of the coffee farmer. We want you to consider this conference about cooperative societies. From where I sit, we lost it when we allowed greed among cooperative society officials to subdivide giant and huge coffee societies into many uneconomical units, therefore increasing the operational cost and the cost of production. We must make a decision how to take advantage of the economies of scale by pulling coffee together into huge organizations to bring down operational cost. And I want to say, after these societies were subdivided into uneconomical units, everybody wants to be a leader. And the marketers have corrupted our cooperative societies and their officials. In fact, during elections for societies officials, the campaign is even more funded than the presidential campaign. Na wewe ukijiuliza hii wakulima wanataka kuwa chairman ya society, anatoa pesa wapi? Anataka kuwa treasurer. Where would they get money? It is these marketers who give them money so that they commit them to reserve their coffee for them, and then they buy at the price they want. We want this conference to consider that we shouldn't allow any marketer to go and commit coffee beyond the season. Because those are the people who have installed puppets in every cooperative society for the benefit of the marketer. And this conference must deal with that through coming up with mechanism on how we put laws to protect cooperative societies. You must look at the issue of the pest control board. I've told CS Linturi. The kind of chemicals that are finding them in the market are no longer effective. Second generation pesticides and fungicides are in the market because the pest and control board is not working. And the farmers spend money, they spray their coffee, and nothing happens. That is something that we must streamline. I want to assure you that the fertilizer subsidy program, among other interventions, will go on. We registered the coffee farmers so that we are able to plan properly, especially now for the short range. In the long range, we had many challenges. We are just coming to government, but we are going to make sure that it is sufficient. So I want to assure you people, we made a promise we will sort out the crops. People have been asking me what happened. We were settling down. Now we have a fully constituted government. We have CSs, we have PSs, we have committee chairman. Sasa ni kazi. Tumeanza kazi ya wakulima. Na mimi hiyo nataka nikae hapo. In the next 3 weeks, we'll have another conference for tea stakeholders in the county of Kericho. We want all these crops, when we meet at the center of production so that the environment is even right. Somebody was telling me we go to this conference in Naivasha. Sasa mambo ya kahawa inaweza zungumziwa Naivasha. So mambo ya chai, in 3 weeks time, all the stakeholders will be in Kericho, the county of Kericho, again to have a discussion. We'll be back. Tuko na mambo ya macadamia, avocado, and other crops. We'll group them together because we cannot have too many conferences for each crop. But at least coffee and tea should stand on their own because they are huge. We'll be back again to discuss issues of macadamia, issues of avocado, which CS Kuria has taken with a lot of energy, but we want to bring all the stakeholders together so that we agree what is it that we do so that we have sustainable solutions. Kwa hivyo mimi niseme, I have very clear and equivocal instructions from President William Ruto that we must sort out the coffee subsector and restore the dignity of the Kenyan farmer. And me, I'm a very obedient deputy, so I'm under instructions. So ile mtu atasimama kwa barabara yangu nitapita na yeye, kwa sababu pia mimi nachunga unga yangu isimwagike. Na mnajua hii kazi nimepata juzi, na mnajua vile niko na shida mingi. Sasa hii kazi sasa lazima niichunge, si ndio? Si mnajua vile nilikuwa na shida mingi. Sasa hii kazi nimepata mimi, sitaki mchezo. Rais ameniambia go and call everybody, sort out coffee, tea, milk, bring the recommendations. And he is monitoring this conference. Even Linturi, Minister, and Kuria were in Belarus. He had sent them there and he called them back because he wants us to succeed. And they are important people in this conference. So, wale sasa kwanza huyu Mdeka, Linturi na Kuria, nyinyi ni watoto ya hapa Mount Kenya, hii ni pahali ya kahawa. If this thing is not sorted out in your time, mtaambia watu nini Kuria na Linturi na mimi? Tutasema nini? Sisi ni watoto ya hapa, hii wakulima wetu, tunawajua, tunawaelewa, tunajua vile wamenyanyaswa na marketers na cartels. Tukikosa kuwasaidia, hata Mungu ataonana na sisi. Hao wakishindwa muwashitaki kwa Mungu. Mtawashitaki? Hao lazima wafanye. Na mimi nitawakalia vibaya sana. Tukimalizana hapa, within 2 weeks the law should be ready. Nao bunge, Mutunga na wengine msukume. Mupitishe haraka iende kama risasi. Then mtupatie tufanye implementation. But I want to confirm, for avoidance of doubt, if there is an administration that will sort out the coffee subsector, it is the Ruto administration that I deputize. And I can tell you we have total commitment. Later this evening, I'll be able to talk to the Meru, the Embu, the Tharaka, and the needy people kwa ma TV zetu jioni. Yale maneno tumeanza kuongea ndio waelewe, so that they are part of it. Then on Sunday from Meru hii nitakuwa na kerebe hapa pia niongeleshe wale wengine, so that we bring everybody on board, so that we have the support. And that is why nimesema wale watu kwanza wanakuza kahawa na wako hapa, maseneta muwapigie simu wakuje, kwa sababu nitawatangaza kwa watu yao. Jioni kama wewe ni kiongozi umechaguliwa, area yako iko kahawa, na wewe hapana iko pahali kahawa nasungumziwa, uko wapi? Where will you be? Lazima nitaambia wananchi siku kuona. Wakikuona wakuulize maoni yako nega? Leo jioni na Sunday. So wale wanafikiri muwapigie simu, nitawashitaki kwa raia. Because if you are not here, how will you support the recommendation in the National Assembly and in the Senate? Why don't you come here? We talk together so that ikija pale ni kusema yes, si ndio? So muwapigie simu wakuje. Isipokuwa ni wale wako ngambo, wengine wakuje so that they are part of this process. Because walichaguliwa na raia na wananchi wanataka kahawa ikuwe sorted. So wewe kama constituency yako iko na kahawa, wewe iko wapi? Kama wewe senator kwako iko kahawa, where are you? Si ukuja pahali mambo ya watu yako yanazungumziwa. Kazi gani nyingine huko naye? Ni gani hiyo? So tutauliza wananchi kama walikuona huko nyumbani ama ulikuwa hapa ndio. Kama huko wa nyumbani na huko hapa, utaambia hao pahali ulikuwa. Nikimalizia, so that now we open this conference, watu wazungumuze. Na mimi siondoki, I'll sit here today, tonight, tomorrow. Tutaka hapa. Basi miraa itakuja. Aburi. Hata miraa iko kwa barabara. Na Muguka. And we made a commitment, tutachagua mabalozi ya kwenda Djibouti na wapi kutoka area hii ndio waende watafute soko. That is a commitment that we made with the president, and that will be done. Finally, it is true, all these interventions, watu ya Meru, watu ya Mount Kenya, watu ya Rift Valley, watu ya Coast, tukienda kila pahali wanataka barabara, wanataka maji, wanataka fertilizer ikuwe subsidized, wanataka mama wazee over 70 years wapewe haki yao. Hii pesa we must collect it from somewhere. That is why we have the finance bill. We have the finance bill. Now let me tell leaders ambaye wanaongea cross purpose. It is only we are not taking time kueleza wananchi what is happening. Turuachia watu ya opposition na Twitter wapige kelele. We are coming to explain to the people why we must collect money to build their roads, to do their water. And the people will understand that they have started understanding. Wale ambaye wanasema finance bill ni mbaya ni ile watu ya Azimio. Mimi nimeuliza magavana juzi. Wewe governor, hata kama uko pande ya Azimio, uko na serikali, unataka pesa kutoka kwa serikali kuu from National Treasury. Yule Raila unafuata hana serikali yeyote. Yule Kalonzo hana serikali yeyote. Yule Martha Karua, hii msichana wetu hapa Kirinyaga, hana serikali yeyote. So wanamwambia mpinge. Nyinyi, we owe you money for 3 months, which we have not paid you because we don't have the money. We must collect it from somewhere. So wewe ukiwa governor unasimama kupinga. Ati umeambiwa na Raila na Martha Karua Kalonzo, na hao hana serikali yeyote. Kazi yao na kupiga kelele. But hakuna mtu nauliza hao mshahara, hakuna mtu nauliza hao barabara, hakuna mtu nauliza hao chochote, alafu wewe unafuata yeye. Sasa utafuata mtu ambaye hakuna mtu nadai yeye chochote. Na wewe uko na serikali. We owe these governors 94 billion, which they need to pay salaries, to build roads, to buy drugs in hospitals. If we don't collect this money, and the law says the money will be paid by Kenyans, that is the law. Tusipochukua hiyo pesa tutatolea nyinyi wapi? I am very happy that the leadership, especially of this region where we come from, is all aligned. Let us support the finance bill. Let us support the housing fund, because watoto wetu tunasomesha, wanatoka kwa shule hawana kazi. Mafundi wako wanashida pale kwa river wanangoja. The whole housing thing has 2 components. The lesser component is getting houses for Kenyans to stop living in slums. That need is about 30%. But the whole component of housing, 70%, is to create employment for our young people so that they have work to do. Sasa wewe ukipinga na kwako constituency kumejaa vijana hawana kazi, tunataka kuwatafutia kazi, na hao vijana hakuna mtu anawaambia watakatwa chochote kwa sababu hana mshahara. So we are even telling wananchi hawa ya kawaida, don't bother about hii watu napiga kelele. Wewe hakuna mtu anakukata pesa kwa sababu huna kazi. Siku utapata kazi ndio utakatwa, so utapiga kelele wakati hiyo. But for now, siwacha tukutafutie kazi upate kukatwa. Si ndio? Yeah. It is the leaders who don't want to pay. Na lazima hii watu walipe, hii watu yote wako na suti hapa wamekaa hapa. Kawera, you must pay. Lazima. Kadhuri, lazima. Hata mimi niko pale. Hii vijana wetu watatoa kazi wapi kama hatutengenezi fund ya kuwasaidia? But I can tell you, this incitement will come to an end. When we successfully pass a bill and it is enacted and implemented, au mahazo na waone hakuna mtu wako na shughuli na hawa, watawachana na hiyo maneno. So these people will be talking to trees. Lakini wenye kusumbua ni wale ambaye hawana any obligation to anybody. Because hii watu ya Azimio, hakuna mtu nauliza hao chochote. Labda wajukuu yao, and that one they can afford from their allowances. But kwa raia, they have no obligation to anybody. Finally, let me confirm to the media and the Kenyan people that the greatness of a leader is the ability to make hard decisions. This economy of Kenya, where we found it, and I said in Kasarani, we found a dilapidated economy with empty coffers. For us to turn around this economy and restore it to where Mwai Kibaki left us, President William Ruto and all of us who work under him must make hard decisions. The decisions may be a little painful in the beginning, but along the way they will be rewarding. And I want to confirm, this little noise and discomfort is okay for us. But I want to say that in another 2 years, the people of Kenya will know that President William Ruto and his government were right. And we are not scared. We are not intimidated, because we are in leadership to make hard decisions for the benefit of the country. We are also not cowards. Sisi si watu ya kushitishwa kidogo na kushtuliwa. Nimeona ati demands, ati amepeana demand. Sasa unapeana demands ukiwa nani? Wewe umechaguliwa na nani? Wewe ni nani kwa Kenya? Si ungoje 2027 you come and persuade these people to give you an opportunity. Wewe ulikuwa kwa serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta, ulikuwa advisor, ungechangia hiyo maneno nasema. You did nothing. You left us a country that is torn apart. You destroyed the Jubilee agenda completely. You stopped housing. You stopped universal health care. You took us into useless ventures like BBI. You had the opportunity to do those things you are saying. Can you sit back and watch how governance is done? And then along the way utasema mambo yako. So niambie hao watu ya upinzani mpige kelele. Sisi we are focused. We have a manifesto. We have a plan. We have an arrangement with the people of Kenya. Kama hao watu ya upinzani mngekuja hapa kwa kahawa, mtuambie vile tutatengeneza kahawa. Sasa hata mkifaa sufuria kwa kichwa, how will it sort out our issues in this country? How? And I want to thank the people of this region walikataa hiyo maneno. Na hawezi kubali kwa sababu sisi ni watu pia tuko na heshima. Sasa mzee kama huyu wetu Kiraito Murugi tukimwona na sufuria kwa kichwa tutasema nini? Sisi tutaibika sana kama jamii. So pia nataka nipongeze viongozi kwa kuchunga heshima yetu. Even the Kamba community ya Hosea walikataa hiyo maneno. In fact, this whole thing is about one region only. People who follow a leader blindly without knowing where he's taking them. Wamefuata miaka 30, wamekwama. Sasa wanaambiwa vaa sufuria kwa kichwa, wanavaa. Sasa kazi yao tu ni fujo. Jana wameumiza hii mtoto wetu Sabina Chega, wamempiga die huyu wako hapa. Sasa mnapiga wamama ya nini? Na sisi hata wamama sisi hata wale tuliwacha kupiga wamama, hata wale tumetolea mali. We don't fight them. When you fight women physically, what kind of a man are you? Wewe unapiga mwanamke na wewe ni mwanaume. Wewe it is embarrassing. Yeah? See, these are cowards. You don't fight women. How do you go to fight women physically to sort out whatever issues are there? Simupigana na Sabina kisiasa. Yeye ni party leader, yule mwingine anasema ni party leader. Si wangangane tujue ni nani party leader. Sasa ukitumana apigwe, does that make you a party leader? Sasa unajua hii watu ya Azimio wamekwama. They are desperate, they are living in denial. Walikuwa na system, walikuwa na deep state, tukawashinda. They are still not believing. How does you attacking Sabina physically help you? It is very, very embarrassing. And we want to ask leaders to be dignified. Parliament is a place for talking. Sasa kama ni vita, si muende kule North Rift pahali iko shida, mtusaidie. Mtusaidie na hiyo budgets wako huko, mungangane na hawa. Parliament uongee na mdomo na akili. Those are the things that are required in the National Assembly. A brain and a mouth. Just talk and say whatever you want to say. So Sabina pole. Nitapanga kutafuta mbuzi hapa utengenezewe supu alafu so that but it's the cost of leadership. Hata wewe ulijaribu kutoa huye kuwa party leader na kuliplizi yeye. Pia hata wewe pia ni jamba. So lazima pia upate matatizo jiani. because you did what is unthinkable. So mimi nimeshukuru. Tutakubaliana tuongee kabisa openly. Have we agreed we are going to sort out this coffee issue once and for all? And you are the people destiny has placed in a unique opportunity to sort out the coffee subsector. When the history of how coffee was brought back to profitability, all of you here will have a chapter when that history is written. So mimi natakia nyinyi mema, mimi niko hapa tu kusikiza na kuandika. Tusikize mawaziri wako hapa, tusikize wakulima waongee, watu ya cooperative waongee, wataalamu waongee, kila mtu waongee, magavana wako hapa waongee. Tuandike, tuambiwe, mtatuambia vile tutafanya. Ikifika lunch, tuende tukule lunch, turudi. Tuendelee. Ikifika usiku, tuendelee. Sasa kila mtu wako hapa. Na kwa hivyo, kwa sababu mimi ndio nimelipa hoteli, nikisema isifunguliwe mpaka tumalize, funguo yote nipatiwe. So hakuna mtu yakwenda kulala. Sababu sasa, that's why I paid the hotel. I knew you could pay for yourself. Lakini nikajua wengine mtanichenga. Nikasema mimi nilipe, sasa mimi ndio mwenye funguo, ndio tukae hapa mpaka tumalize. Tumekubaliana watu wetu. I wish you God's blessings. May God guide you to have the right frame of mind to make practical suggestions in a very positive, objective and pragmatic manner for the benefit of our farmers. And when these farmers are sorted, na mimi hata nilimwambia rais, hii wakulima ya kahawa na majani chai na maziwa na miraa na avocado, wakiweka pesa kwa mfuko, mimi hata akiniambia twende nyumbani tuko tayari kwenda, because that will be our legacy. Hata tusipofanya kitu kingine, hiyo inatosha. Tukirudishia watu wetu heshima yao. Tunataka kuona wamama wetu wakiwa na pesa kwa mfuko, wakiwa wasafi, wametengeneza nywele, wamepeleka kwa ile kinyungu imekorogwa, inasimama vizuri. We like seeing our women clean and beautiful and looking well. And they cannot if they have no money. Si ndio? Si wamama ni maji na kibeti? Yeah, we want to restore the dignity and the beauty of our women as a society. Tunataka hawa wazee aende kwa mfuko atoe 3,000 apatie bibi yake kwa sababu ya kumpenda bila kumuuliza anaenda kufanya kazi gani naye. Lakini saa hii akipatiwa 1,000 anaambiwa aeleze inaenda kazi gani. Because hiyo 1,000 hakuna pesa nyingine isipokuwa 1,000. We want to go back there. And I can tell you as an administration, if we succeed to restore the dignity of our farmers and the Kenyan people, that will define the legacy of this administration. And all these people are persuaded. Huyu Linturi na Kuria wanazunguka na Chelugui, they are everywhere, they are working very hard. And I want to commend the 3 ministers and we'll work together. Where you need my support, I'm available. Kwa hivyo, wapi MC atuambie, how are we proceeding? Mumepanga vizuri? How we proceed? So that sasa tuanze kuchukua maoni. Sasa kila mtu atayarishe kalamu na karatasi. May God bless you and bless you abundantly. Asanteni sana.
Indeed. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the direction, the counsel, and the advice from His Excellency, the Deputy President. Truly, that was not a good enough clap for such delivery. Kindly, let's give him a proper round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It's taken a long time to come to such a point in history, and I indeed agree it is a momentous occasion and a singular opportunity for all of us herein to charter the course of our history when it comes to bolstering the economy and opportunities for all stakeholders. At this juncture, as we prepare, let us have the protocol team now present the chairs in the front for the plenary. Our plenary will encompass the CS Agriculture and Livestock Development, that is Mithika Linturi. We will also have the CS Cooperative and MSMEs, our CS Simon Chelugui. Let's have the chairs right here to kick off the plenary. The representative of the CS Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Frederick Moffa. And we will also have the former chairperson for Coffee Reforms, Mr. Njaron Dwiga, CS Industry Trade and Investments Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria. This session will be moderated by PS Trade Alfred Kombudo. Remember, it is such an important activity, and what we need to focus during this session is the aspiration of this administration, the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation model, to ensure that we have profitability in the economic sector pertaining to coffee. Let's have those seats ready, and one for the moderator. This will be a total of 6 seats, kindly. Asanteni sana. We are not yet having a break. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remain seated as our cabinet secretaries take to the podium, led by PS Trade. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alfred Kombudo. I'm PS for Trade. I'd like to ask our colleagues that are leaving the room to kindly hold on, because we are having a very important panel right now, and then we shall continue with a break after that. So please, let's just maintain our seats. To His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, to Excellency Cabinet Secretaries present, and also the governors, senators, principal secretaries, and the leadership from the coffee and tea producing areas, and also other leaders present. I would like us to basically start off this panel, which is a panel on what are the aspirations of the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation model to bring back coffee to profitability. I will allow for a few seconds those that are completing, saying a quick hello, to complete settling down so that we can commence the panel with the full attention of the audience.
So I'll come with my CEO to ongea kidogo. Lakini karibu sana. We're very happy.
I decided we meet here at the center.
No,
It's
for
very
sure.
significant.
Ndio, umeongea vizuri sana.
Okay, thank you very much. So let us now proceed. Your Excellency, the Deputy President, and everybody, all the leaders here present. First of all, let me start off by letting each of the panelists introduce themselves. They're well known, but I'd like them to introduce themselves and to tell us what they shall be talking about in the panel. So just your name, your designation, and what you see yourself bringing to this panel. And I would like to start with Honorable the Cabinet Secretaries. We have Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture. We have Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, who is here with us today, and he shall be leading us on issues of production and basically sharing his ideas on how he sees the production model proceeding on the basis of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. We also have with us Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, and he will be leading us on a discussion on how we see the international trade aspects, the commodity platform working, our foreign trade representation, and how we ensure that we get our best prices internationally. We also have Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives and MSME Development, who is going to be talking to us about how the aggregation model can be basically reformed and how aggregation and value addition through the cooperative model can be done in a way that helps us get the best prices, but also keeps the unique story of the cooperative as part of our selling proposition. We also have Ambassador Matwanga, who is from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Director for International Economic Affairs, who shall also be sharing insights with us on what exactly it is that MFA and the international community should do to support our international engagements in the coffee sector. And we also have one of our reformers in the sector, Honorable Njeru Nduiga, who is going to talk to us about coffee reforms and how exactly do we ensure that Parliament, the executive, the farmers, the cooperatives do reforms in a way that work and that the money ends up in the farmers' pockets. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start, and I will ask them a few questions, but allow me to make just one comment, because this is about the bottom-up economic transformation model. Your Excellency, I'm proud to say that I was actually part of a team that was called the economic team that helped write the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. And part of the things that we did were to look at each of the sectors and basically ask ourselves what can be done differently this time. And I remember the very first meeting we had was actually with leaders from Tharaka. I can see Honorable Murugara here, who was in that first meeting that we had. There was Honorable Jafet Mbuki, there was the women representative, and coffee was the very first conversation that we had as part of that team. So it's also quite a great pleasure for us now to be seen to be doing the reforms here. I'd like to start off with a question to Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture. Production has gone down from about 150,000 metric tons. We say that now it is at about 30,000 metric tons. So the volumes have gone down. But what do we now need to do with everything we've heard from Deputy President and everybody else to bring back the volumes up? But it is not just volumes. How do we bring back volumes up, and how do we bring back the quality consistently so that we are able to have the raw material? Karibu Waziri.
Thank you very much, PS, and all the other stakeholders present. And let me start by saying that the issue of increasing productivity of our coffee and addressing the issue of the decrease of the quantity and the quality of coffee that is being produced right now as a number of serious historical issues. And those historical issues and challenges are the ones that we've come here today so that we are able to engage and share experiences with the people that are in this business, the practitioners, so that we can be able to come with recommendations that are practical, that can be able to address the problems that we've had. From my experience, because I have grown in this area and we've been producing coffee for a long time. And I think just like you mentioned, the Deputy President himself, the other speakers have really given the reason to why I think production has been decreasing. And production has decreased over time because we've not been able to give farmers the right price that is so, that entices them, or that is so motivating for them to continue maintaining coffee as the foreign exchange earner or an income earner for the family, compared to what is paid to them vis-a-vis the cost of production, that or the kind of money they put into producing whatever they are paying for. So for us to be able to address the aspect of production, number one, just we want to emphasize that we must be willing and ready to ensure that we have the right markets for us to be able to get the right money to pay the farmer for it to be exciting for him to continue farming. Number two, for us to be able to increase production, we must also be able to motivate and get our farmers back to the farms to increase the area and the coffee production. And getting our farmers back to farming into the farms, I believe we must also be able to come up with ideas that are practical, ideas that will be able to address the high cost of production. And I'm happy that the government and the Ruto administration is very committed in funding or subsidizing production against consumption. And that is why you will find that even the current fertilizer subsidy program that we've been running, in the coffee sector itself, we've had farmers picking coffee fertilizer under the subsidy program for them to be able to continually give the correct formulation of fertilizer for their coffee. You also find that it is now very necessary for us to be able to increase production, to rely on science and be able to use, like, for example, Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Institute has developed various varieties of coffee that are resistant to the coffee-bearing disease. It is important for us now, as we get farmers back to their farms, to be able to use also the right seedling, because when you use the right seedling, that seedling, once grown and is resistant to CBD and the other kinds of pests, that will be another step towards increasing productivity. But most important is how, because Kenya, our farmers are small scale farms, is how we can be able to mobilize as many farmers as possible to be able to accept that the reality of life right now, for us to be able to get to the tons that we want to produce per year, there must be the participation of as many farmers as possible. And I think it will not be a problem getting farmers to farm, as long as we organize in a system where they have confidence that once they do the production, there will be value addition for their coffee, there will be a good market for their coffee, and for that matter, because agriculture or coffee production is business like any other. And when there is good return for any business that you do, then every person will be happy or to get into that business and continue doing it because it earns or makes money for himself. So let us commercialize coffee farming. Let us make it business like any other. And I believe our farmers really do not have a problem as long as we have good money for them. And because we traveled with and now I've been moving out of the country for quite some time, and there is no area that I've not been to, including our last visit in Belarus with Moses yesterday. And the business people and other government officials that we've met are always talking about the good quality Kenyan coffee, which they are willing to buy. Remember the meeting we and the Vice Prime Minister are talking about why do they have to get their coffee in Belarus from Europe? Why can't we export directly? So there is room for us to explore new markets for coffee, and I think out of that and the value addition, we'll be able to earn more earnings, and that will really motivate our farmers to get to the farms and be able to produce more. And of course, with the government support and the commitment that is being given, I don't really find it a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, for giving us that information about the production side. Just to inform the audience today is that we want to try and make a hard stop 30 minutes from now so that we can proceed for the coffee break. And therefore, I would like us to move fairly quickly to continue telling the story. And Honorable Cabinet Secretary, still on the production side. We do note the strategies around bringing back, fertilizer, inputs, and the things that the farmers need in order for the production to happen. Over the last 10, 20 years, is it just, for example, a matter for us to get back into the game and sort of do what we've been doing, or have things changed out there in terms of production, in terms of breed selection and so forth, that we will also now need to basically put into our production systems so that we produce for what the market is actually expecting?
Other than addressing the issue of the areas of production, I think it will also be very important for us to address the issue of governance in our cooperative societies. How the quality, the type of leaders that we elect as farmer organizations in our factories contributes also seriously to whether farmers will have confidence to go back to their farms or not. So, because it's an issue, and I would want to encourage the leaders to become open and be able to bring it out. And as long as we have the politically elected people leading this cause, we cannot really fail. Because I have been a member of parliament for quite some time. I know whenever any leader takes up a matter and runs with it, the people that elect him and the people that he leads are always very faithful to the advice that is given to our elected leaders. So even we have, as we address this particular this issue, it is important that we all come together and agree this is the way we want to do things, this is the way forward, because our agents on the ground there are the people that have been given the mandate by the people of Kenya to represent them in all spheres. And I believe when we do it, it will not really be, it will not be a problem. As long as we're in the right frame of mind, we have the right people, the right advocates for this cause, we'll be able to succeed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cabinet Secretary. And now we shall move on to Honorable Cabinet Secretary responsible for cooperatives and MSMEs. He had a very interesting presentation where he spoke about the fact that both Kenya and Colombia are growing Arabica coffee. But it seems as if there are some of our competitors out there that have managed to use the cooperative model in a way that enables the cooperatives to have the governance that Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture is talking about, to mobilize in such a way that they have the financing available. They basically are also able to do the cooperative marketing and to be able to create a product that ensures that the farmer has money in their pocket at the end of the day. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, from the learnings that we have had internally, from the learnings that you've had in your visits in Colombia, what are the 3 or 4 things that we are going to do for the cooperative societies so that they regain their foothold as the fulcrum for coffee production?
Thank you so much, PS, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, colleagues, PS, CSs, and governors, and senators, and members of parliament, and our dear farmers. This is a very important discussion. The Kenya Kwanza administration came up with the better and identified a number of value chains to be supported and given due consideration, coffee being one of them. Your Excellency, I want to break down this question into around 5 issues from my own perspective, the perspective of the ministry, and also what we've gained and learned in the last 6 months at having interacted with the governors, interacted with the leadership of the country and coffee farmers. On the issue of productivity, we have had a decline, serious decline in production because we stopped carrying out and managing our coffee research foundation. The Ruiru 11 that has brought us to where we are was a great innovative and scientific research that has stood the times. On productivity, as you've been told in the various speakers, including the Deputy President, our average production today is 2 kilos. And the biggest challenge there is how much the net return to the farmer. For us to grow and move, and we've seen cases here in Meru, we have farmers harvesting up to 35 kilos. We must look at the agronomics of coffee production. What are the agronomics? It starts with the crop. How old is our coffee tree? In Colombia, Governor Gachagua was there. The average tree in Colombia is 20 years. And they prune this tree every year. They take out 5%. they take out 5% every year. And progressively, the tree pushes are renewed. What plans? Through the cooperative model, we should be able to come up with a plan to engage extension officers to be able to manage and support farmers in renewing and refreshing our trees. That way, we will increase our production. The second issue on production is the farm inputs. Through the cooperative model, we need to aggregate farm inputs to benefits from economies of scale. And that will see quality seeds, seedlings, quality farm inputs at affordable prices. And that's why we are proposing agencies like KFA, which is a premier farmers organization, to be revived and empowered so that they have a national presence. On the second issue, and for us, we don't have to grow more coffee trees. We don't have to increase our acreage. We can increase productivity per tree and achieve the same target. And that will come out of improvement of management of the push. The second issue is on price. You realize we have a big problem. After diagnosing the whole value chain, we have a problem at the marketing and selling point. Our coffee exchange has been taken over by people who are not farmers or Kenyans. There is we don't have government present, we don't have farmers present in that coffee exchange. In the process, they set and fix prices for this crop. I one day asked managing director of KPCU to give me the coin prices of that day. The prices at our Nairobi Coffee Exchange that day, it was a Thursday, around March, the prices were 182 shillings per kilo of coffee. A bag of 50 kilos was going for $180. In the same day, same grade of coffee was 438 in Ethiopia. The same day we Googled in New York was $800 per similar bag. It tells you, therefore, that we have a problem with our marketing, our coffee exchange, and the management and governance of that institution. It is therefore very important, through aggregation, we have participation of farmers, the cooperative societies at our Nairobi Coffee Exchange. And that is something that we feel will push our prices per kilo to at least 100 plus. I received a delegation from New Ngariama farmers. And they came to me, I went to Kirinyaga, we had a celebration because they paid the highest price almost nationally, 110 shillings. To us, it deserved a celebration. But elsewhere, this price is really very low. And therefore, and also, I remember Kipkelion, when they sold their coffee directly to Korea, they were paid 150 shillings. They called for national prayers for that price, to celebrate a price. And from that day, they received a lot of fights and backlash from brokers and dealers. We had our late governor, Gachagua, of Nyeri. He organized the same and looked for external markets. And there was a boycott by the buyers and brokers and dealers of coffee. And therefore, what that tells us is we have to really focus there if we are really to have true and fair discovery of prices. The third one is aggregation. Through economies of scale, we can mobilize, we can mop up coffee to a common, to share services, including milling, including warehousing, including marketing. Through aggregation, we can also pool together. And I'm really in total support of the suggestion by the Deputy President that we come up with a minimum tonnage per society so that we promote either matching of societies or we increase production. That way, we will be able to manage our cost of production And in the end, the farmer benefits. Because when we save cost, we can now plow back that saving to the final price the farmer will get. We need to look at also the markets, alternative markets. Through this aggregation, we can have, through our trade officers, trade attaches, and also specific officers manning out external station, we should be able to identify alternative markets. It is also possible that Kenya cooperative coffee exporters can invest in value addition, because what we've seen, 5% of our coffee is consumed locally, while the other countries, including our neighbors, Ethiopia, are consuming up to 30 and 40%. That way, they have been able to plow back the benefits of value addition back to their farmers. And you will realize farmers in Ethiopia earn better than the farmers in Kenya. Second to the last is the issue of savings. I came here the other day, yet to Sako, with the CS Agriculture, and found out that the same farmer, the same coffee farmer, tea farmer, macadamia farmer, can actually be mobilized to save for a better day, for a dry season. Yet to Sako is a Sako, a smallholder farmer Sako. Started about, I think, 7-8 years ago. To date, they have an asset base of 2.5 billion from the 20 shillings, 30 shillings savings per kilo that they put in that Sako. They now have branches all the way to Kitengela. And farmers that day were earning as high as 200,000, one single farmer, from those small savings. Therefore, we can promote financial inclusion through co-aggregation by supporting the farmer. We can also improve the social protection of the farmer. We change it from social protection to a social security by investing through aggregation and putting together the farmers' produce saving. Finally, is on governance and leadership. We've had a challenge in our cooperatives. The splitting and breakdown of our societies began during liberalization. And I have realized that came as a result, the dicing and slicing of our societies was as a result of the scramble of this group. The new millers, the new marketers who came on board, came and disorganized our societies. Because of that, our production went down. Because of that, we now have less productivity. And for us to restore back the tonnage, the production, we must go back to ensuring the Commissioner of Cooperative, through the new cooperative bill, which is now undergoing cabinet approval, can ensure the Commissioner of Cooperative as an eye, and working together with the county governors, we would want to ensure the cooperative movement in our respective counties is strengthened, and you have a clear eye. I want to mention and pick out Governor Kaiga of Nyeri. He has allocated over 10 million shillings. He allocates 10 million shillings every year to train and build capacity of these cooperative officers. And by doing that, we have lesser politics, lesser challenges in Nyeri as far as cooperative movement is concerned. Odaya Farmers Cooperative is still intact. We had splitting in Mukurweni before devolution, but that stopped after devolution because of county government intervention. It therefore means if county governments can really focus on strengthening governance and leadership in our cooperative society, we can push our production up. So those are my responses on this, and when all that is said and done, we believe that the coffee production can be profitable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cabinet Secretary. He has made several points, but that of governance and using cooperative model, well-governed, is really what is going to get us forward. A quick thing is I want to make sure that our rapporteurs are already beginning to write down the emerging recommendations and ideas that are coming together, so that then as we move forward through the rest of the day, we will be able to codify these into action points, because that is why we are here. Secondly, I would want to alert the panel members that at the end of the panel, I will ask you to tell us what is the one thing from your ministry that you're going to immediately do in order to advance the agenda that we are putting forward here, so that that can also be recorded down. Thank you very much, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, for Cooperatives Development and MSMEs Development. We are now going to go to a conversation with the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade, and Industry. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, once production has happened, assuming that it has been done to the liking of the market, and once aggregation and the cooperatives have basically put together a product that needs to go out into the international markets, how do we ensure that we get the best prices, that the consumer out there knows where the coffee exactly comes from, the story that can be told about that coffee, and how do we ensure that Kenya regains its foothold as the home of coffee? Karibu.
Thank you. Let me, before even I talked about the marketing element, let me just touch a bit on that issue of the governance and institutional framework. Because now speaking like a stakeholder in the coffee, I think even before the marketing, we have an issue there. I remember in 2004, I was working abroad, and I was the first person to import from abroad the first container of coffee from KPCU. When KPCU was KPCU, that was in the year 2004, when Ruth Moniki was the CEO. And we've seen what has happened to KPCU over the years. By the way, and I'm looking forward to the discussion on tea in 2 weeks' time, as His Excellency has said. You know, in tea, despite the many problems, still some, as we say where I come from, men still go to the bar to have a beer and they sing goats at least once a month. Because KTDA still provides that framework, which it may not work very well, but at least it's there. But if you look at exactly what happened in coffee with the collapse of KPCU, it shows that let us keep our institutions, even if they are not working very well, they can be improved over time. Because now this free for all that has come is not good for anyone. And we have been having two cartels, two layers of cartels. I have encountered both of them. The cartel at the higher level, you know, those Muzungus, the importers, the big companies. In 2013, before I went to Parliament, I was a very good friend of, as CSR said, of the late Delito Gachagua. And I was actually his consultant when we were trying to fight with the cartels and the frustration that he got. And by the way, because of Delito Gachagua, this is a battle that personally I must win. Because we started and we tried and we saw the frustration. And they will come, I remember that time, and Honorable Duiga is here, Senator Duiga is here. Senator Duiga, if you remember, when Delito Gachagua started, and yourself also, the German former Chancellor, Schroeder, had to come in and see President Kibaki, just to ensure that we don't continue with the effort that we have made to liberate our people from this. Now later, we have opened this discussion on our cooperatives, which is the second layer of cartels. There is no worse cartels in this sector than the cooperatives. And I want to challenge everyone. If we have to make a change, let us first of all put our money where our mouth is. Let us bite the bullet. Can we change the law to a such a way whereby the governor of a coffee county and the member of parliament from that area are automatic members of every coffee cooperative? So that we can have people who are accountable. So that we can have people who can be asked questions by Mwananchi. And I'm saying this because when I became a member of parliament, I said, now I'm going to fix coffee. It's my chance. So I called my cooperatives. And one guy, he was a chair of Kiambu cooperatives and also from my area. he told me kukula lazima tukule kwa sababu sisi sio yai. Yai ndio tu haina mdomo, haiwezi kukula. Kwa hivyo kukula lazima tukule. And I was very frustrated. But unfortunately I couldn't do anything because what do you tell a cooperative? You are a member of parliament. A cooperative is devolved. The governor has no say in that particular cooperative. The member of parliament has got no role in that cooperative. So in this, because His Excellency has said we have to bite the bullet now, let us bite the bullet by showing those people who think that they own the farmer, that even a member of parliament and a governor, they also own the same farmer. So by having them in these cooperatives, so that they can be able to answer the question on behalf of the people that they represent. Otherwise, it can be very frustrating. Now, as I move on now to the next issue, which is the price. The only way to fix this price is nothing but value addition. And this is value addition in two ways. If you go to Starbucks, and I travel quite a lot, a 225-gram sachet of what they call Kenya AA, the best coffee, it goes for somewhere in the region of $22. Now do some mathematics. It means that a kilo of that Starbucks coffee is somewhere in the region of $100. Or by the current exchange rate, 14,000 shillings. Even if you use a factor of 10 to go back from that sachet to the cherry, you'll find out that there's no reason, and I believe there's no reason why a kilo of coffee cannot charge minimum 1,000 shillings. Na hata ikipungua sana, I believe if we do the right thing, we can be able to give 500 shillings to the farmer. I believe it's possible. And I believe it's doable. That time, when I was in parliament, I started to try to move a bill to say, let us not export our coffee raw. And I was fought a lot. You remember, there was a big debate for almost 6 months. And you know, people want to fight you. They come up with all sorts of excuses. Unajua, kahawa yetu inaharibika. You know, there's a shelf life. All sorts of, the same way they were frustrating Derito Gachagua with all sorts of silly arguments. It's the same thing they brought. Oh, you know, the shelf life cannot go, it will go bad. You know, you have to make the coffee close to the consumer. Those are what I call, sorry for this, and I'm not racist, Mzungu arguments. And that's why I am focusing on emerging markets. An emerging market is not going to give me those kind of an argument. It's not, if I go to India, if I go to China, if I go to the Middle East, if I go to Indonesia, if I go to the largest market that we have, which is the rest of Africa, they're not going to start telling me kwamba kahawa itaharibika. So one, we focus on value addition and we focus on new markets. The Vice President of Colombia was here the other day, and we had a meeting with the Deputy President. And one thing that came clear is the number of variants or derivative products that can be able to be gotten out of coffee. Yetu, Magonia, Green, the way we have done it since independence is the way we are doing it. Now, with the county aggregation and industrial parks, which I'm very passionate about, we can be able to create one, value addition in the county, and we will do it. Two, a county brand. So, Governor Kawira Mwangaza, because your tender is closing today, and because I believe we can start operating this KIPE in 6 months' time, let us also start working on Meru coffee, a distinct brand of coffee, which even somebody in America or wherever they are, they will know that this is Meru coffee. And not just coffee. Let us have Meru chocolate and all those other variants of products that you can be able to get. So these county aggregation and industrial parks are very important because, one, the government itself, we are replacing one broker to at least a broker with some conscience, which is the government. Yeah? Because Kawira Mwangaza and myself will be asked questions by the people of Meru. Yeah? So other than just depending on brokers and those middlemen, we can be able to do something as ourselves. And I'm very, very positive that within the next 1 year, using these county aggregation and industrial parks, we are going to bend the curve on coffee, on other products, on productivity, and actually, within the next 1 year, Mwananchi will be smiling. We'll be able to put real money in people's pockets. And for the international marketing, we are opening warehouses in DRC, in Dubai, in those other countries, so that even somebody from Kariene down here can be able to export coffee to South Korea, even if they don't have a passport. Because right now, why we have a problem, only the big shots, only the big people can be able to participate in this market. But using aggregation, which Honorable Cherugoi has talked about, using the county industrial parks, using our export warehouses, we can be able to place coffee in South Korea, and that money will be able to reach somebody in Kariene, even if they don't have a passport. Deploying also e-commerce, which is something else we are working on, our commodity exchange, and CS Cherugui, I want to challenge you, let us support the commodity exchange. Let us actually ensure it is funded, so that Mwananchi can have an option. You want to go to Nairobi Coffee Exchange? Go. You want to go to the commodity exchange? Go. So that we have some sort of competition and we are able to give value to the farmer. We have now just signed an agreement with CNN for the next 1 year, and using this partnership with CNN, for the first time, you'll be able to see Kenya Coffee on CNN starting from next week, so that we are able to reach everybody. So we create that cool effect on our coffee through international marketing. But ultimately, as I conclude, I can't do that alone as a ministry. Linturi cannot do that alone, and Cherugui cannot do that alone. When we went to Nanyuki in January, we established what we are calling the value chain approach. This value chain approach is whereby we all work together. We don't operate in silos. We don't say, I am agriculture. That's why you found me and Linturi are going out together. Next time, Linturi and Cherugui will go and attack something else together. They were here in Meru. Me and Cherugui will go and do something together. So, Your Excellency, I also want to request you to help us to strengthen this value chain approach, because it needs some coordination at your level, at the level of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, because we need to align. You need to help us to have this working together. Our budget now this year, the 2023-2024, for the first time, we have used this value chain approach, whereby we are saying it doesn't matter. I have heard reports that we have got 260 billion within the value chain. Personally, it is not in my ministry, but it doesn't matter. If my brother Linturi has it, and he produces, mimi nitangangana huko, and I will create the market. But the most important thing is to have a coordinated approach, because as the Deputy President has said, we must be that generation that is going to fix this issue for once and for all. And because najua kuna watu wengine wanafikiria kwamba we are not going to perform. That's why I'm saying the only auditor who is going to audit our performance is a Mwananchi at the ballot. So we be given time. If we don't perform, Mwananchi atatupiga kiboko. But I'm sorry, in these plans, my only institution I can report to is, other than my president, my deputy president, is Parliament, who just got an oversight role, and the voter at the end of our term. So I'm saying this because nimesikia watu wengine wakisema ati sijui finance bill does not pass, wataandamana. Where andamana after 5 years? Tuende kwa Mwananchi after that. Because Mwananchi is not stupid. They can see what we are doing. We need to be given time. We put all these plans into place, so that by 5 years to 4 years from now, because 1 year is almost gone, then we'll be asked a question. When you guys took over government, the farmer in Meru was getting 40 shillings. How much was a farmer getting by 2027? And I'm not saying that it's going to hit until 2027, but I think that we need sufficient space to put all these plans together. Wengine ambao walikuwa kwa hii serikali Ukiwauliza kahawa inatoka wapi, wanakuambia inatoka pale kwa nini? Kwa kitchen pale. They don't know about the trees and all that kind of thing. So please let them give us time now. We put all these efforts together. We work together so that at the end of the day, we can be held accountable by our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Honorable Cabinet Secretary. It's now 11:48. We've overshot by about 3 minutes, but it's an exciting conversation, and I want us to follow through with our other panelists, and then we'll try and wind up as quickly as we can. Thank you, Honorable Cabinet Secretary. Governance is keeps on coming up. Excellency Deputy President, that issue of governance, wherever we talk about production, it's coming up. Whenever we talk about cooperatives, it's coming up. Whenever we are talking about the marketing, it's coming up. And therefore, that is something which I think it is loud and clear we have to fix, take the hard decisions so that we are able to then move forward. Moving on, we have a representative director for international economics at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Fred Matwanga. And as I introduce him to speak, perhaps I will phrase my question to you in the context of something that the State Department for Trade does, and for where we want some additional support also from MFA. The State Department for Trade manages what is known as the Foreign Commercial and Trade Service. These are the officers that we have been posting out there to basically help us with market development, to help us with product development, and to be able to create the relationships that we need in order for us to be able to improve our exports. One of the key things that we've already decided on and has been agreed to by Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry is that even for the cadre of the people that are representing us abroad, we shall be posting them on a value chain basis. We shall basically be saying, if we are in the coffee sector, we need to have people out there who are conversant with coffee, who understand coffee production, who understand coffee aggregation, who know how to do coffee tasting, who know how to establish relationships, who knows how coffee exchanges work, and then that is the kind of person that is going to be able to have the capacity to basically implement this. And as a State Department for Trade, we have made a commitment that we are not going to post any more trade attaches who are not going to be posted on the basis of value chains. And this is something that I believe over the next 1 or 2 days we'll be able to refine at this conference so that then we're able to move coherently. And now to your question, Ambassador Matwanga. The conversation on foreign affairs. We have 200 missions abroad. You are in consistent conversations with the people out there who we are calling our markets. We have people coming into Kenya for conferences. We have people engaging us on all manner of things. How does foreign affairs become an instrument for us to advance and market our coffee in a way that gets us 1,000 shillings or more per kilo? What instruments do you have, and how are you going to deploy them for the benefit of coffee farmers?
Thank you, PS, and Your Excellency. Foreign affairs is a key player in marketing of Kenyan products, attracting investment in what we call within the ministry as the economic diplomacy pillar of our foreign policy. And this is a pillar that has been promoted very much by the presidency. And nowadays, just to let you know that whenever the president is on a foreign mission, he always asks, what is it that we are going to bring back home? And what we are going to bring back home is if we open up markets for more of our products, if we attract more investment in our various sectors. And these sectors, coffee is key among them. So as foreign affairs in our economic diplomacy, we work towards promoting our Kenyan produce, tea, coffee, fruits, vegetables, and everything else. From my department, which I head, I'm the Director for Economic Affairs and Commercial Diplomacy, I work with all ministries and state departments to promote what they produce and to attract investment. And of course, as the moderator has said, Kenya has got around 60 missions outside there. We consider these missions as the first point of marketing and promotion of Kenyan products. And as it has been said, we have commercial attaches outside there in most of our missions. But there's a point we need to note. There is one thing having a commercial or a trade attaché outside there. There is another thing facilitating them and enabling them to do what they are supposed to do. And that is the first point of my discussion, if I were to say. Promotion of coffee is very important. You cannot have the best coffee from Kiambu, from Meru, or from anywhere in Kenya. You must let people know about it. The challenge we have, most of our missions do not have promotional material for the coffee that we produce, for the best coffee that everybody knows. When you go outside there, everybody knows Kenya has the best coffee. But where is it? You'll rarely get it in many shelves outside there. Our missions, our trade attaches, they are there, but most of them, when you ask them, they always ask me, they want promotional coffee, they want promotional tea. We need to invest in providing or supporting the promotional activities of our missions. Of course, as the moderator said, the commercial and trade attaches, they work under the purview of the ambassadors and high commissioners. We need to do everything possible to empower our officers outside there to do the promotion. It is not, from the point of foreign affairs, it is not just our missions outside there. We have easy access to other missions based in Kenya, or even where we don't have missions, foreign affairs has a way of reaching out to those markets. We need to work very closely with the relevant ministries and even with the private sector. That is part of our role, to make sure that we reach out as much as possible. The second point beyond promotion is what the CS has mentioned, the issue of value addition and value chain development. Most of the time, we just have Kenyan coffee. If you get it in Korea, it's one of the markets that our coffee is very visible. In fact, 2 months ago, I was in Korea and I could see Kiambu coffee, Nyeri coffee, Baringo coffee, and it's very well presented. But one thing we need to know is that we need to present our coffee outside there in a form and manner that can be attractive to the consumers. We should know what the Japanese market likes, how they would like their coffee to be packaged, how the Asian market likes it, how the European market likes it, how the American market likes it. Not any market is the same. And if we make a mistake of going with the coffee that we went with to the Middle East, to Europe, I think we shall be making a mistake. 3 weeks ago, we were in Israel. When I asked for promotional materials, I was given promotional materials, but when I looked at them, these are materials which had been used in the Arab world. We could not even use them because the Israel market is not incongruent with the Arab market. They wouldn't like to know that we are promoting to them the same thing we promoted in another market. So the value addition aspect, to make sure that we target markets appropriately according to their taste and need, is very important. And the issue of value chain development. From coffee, people make confectionaries, people make beauty products, but most of the time, our coffee goes out in bulk, or if it is packaged, it's just the basic coffee we think everybody wants to drink coffee. Why can't we earn more, plan to earn more from coffee by enhancing the value chain, other products that can come from the same? The third thing I would like to mention from the foreign affairs point of view is about sustainability. When I talk to our colleagues who are helping us market and promote our products outside there. Most of our supply chains are very short-lived. In the east coast of the US, there is a Kenyan who got a contract with one of the coffee chains. He was to be supplying 4 containers every week, or every month, not every week. It was only supplied once. The next month, they could not supply. How can we make sure that the issue of sustainability of our supply chains are sustained? Because when the Kenyan lost that, the Ethiopian took it and has been running it for the last 10 or so years. Of course, it's one good thing the Cabinet Secretary has said we are going to open warehouses in strategic places. That is very good. And let's make sure that the supply to those warehouses will be sustained so that when somebody has tasted the Kenyan coffee and wants to get more, it is readily available. And from the foreign affairs point of view, we are ready to work with all the stakeholders in the coffee subsector to make sure that we benefit to the maximum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause to Ambassador Matwanga. And as you can see, this is the value chain in practice. And this is really what we want to strengthen and institutionalize. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those comments. 2 things, maybe in this panel or even in subsequent panels, that we will need to talk about is how we ensure that we do not get the pain from having to look for the pain in as far as the scarcity of dollars when it comes to sale transactions abroad. It's hurting us in tea, it's hurting us in coffee, and many other commodities. This is something that we'll really have to think through. Maybe there's a panel coming after this that will be looking at that. And as we move ahead, I would like now to invite Honorable Senator Njeru Ndwiga, who's former senator for Embu, but is somebody who is well known and fondly remembered for issues concerning coffee reforms. And for him, I think my question to him is very simple. As somebody who has championed coffee reforms, what you are hearing from our colleagues, how does it sit with you?
Thank you, Your Excellency, Deputy President. First of all, let me start by saying that I have listened to you many times. And when people want to hear your wants and what you are saying, some of us are looking for something different. We are looking for something from within. Because coffee reforms will not, and you said it, coffee reforms will not be done on the desk and in other places. You've got to be passionate. And I want to thank you because I see that passion in you. And I know, then therefore, we are going to get places. This is a part of a long journey of coffee reforms. And I will remember that in the early, late 90s, actually early 90s, when we started reforms, and I'm happy to see Mheshimiwa Kiraitu Moronge here, because in Parliament we formed a team. We formed a team called COTEPA, Coffee and Tea Parliamentary Association, which was then chaired by the late John Mishuki, and Kiraitu was the secretary then, and I was its treasurer. So it's been a long journey. And to date, we are seeing a lot of things, because a lot of things have happened. But these piecemeal reforms have not helped the sector. That's why I am happy that today we are meeting in Meru. First, to look at what we have on the table. And on the table, we have got the coffee bill, which in the last parliament, I, as chairman of agriculture, we passed in the Senate. And I am happy the new Senate has taken up the same bill, and they have done a few amendments, whatever it is, we will look at those. I am happy that they're going through with that view, because therein lies the answer to the problems we are discussing here. The coffee problem started in in the 90s. And very many people don't even know why we are where we are. We are where we are because of some people, and they have delegates in here, Your Excellency. Those people, the war was to kill KPCU. And that was but there was nothing else. It was to kill KPCU so that we start other moribund millers and start other marketing agencies. That was the reason. And they did succeed to some extent because they got their way, their millers, they got their licenses, they got even statutes changed in Parliament at that time. They became marketing agents, now they are marketing agents. And I will tell you, because this is going to be very, very unpopular with some of us seated in here. All these mills which are now started all over the country, Your Excellency, most of these are white elephants. Why do I say so? When this country was producing 100 and close to 40,000 tons of coffee, we had one mill, KPCU. We had one KPCU, one mill. Now, we are now producing, we are at what? This year about 50,000 metric tons, and we have almost 20 mills. We have almost 20 mills. These are white elephants. I know I am going to be very unpopular with people who are leading those mills, but I want you to look at these statements 10 years from today, because that is the truth. That until and unless we begin to look inwards where our problem is, because our problem is not with the consumers. Our problem starts with us, and is with us, starting from our cooperative societies that has been saying governance all along, from the cooperative society all the way up. And I really do hope, those of us who've been in the reform sector for this long, I really do hope that this sector, when we put in institutions, because we need strong institutions, that we will have strong leadership in those institutions. Because that's where it all is. Strong leadership in those institutions. People who will be passionate to lead this sector, where this sector should be going. Honorable Kuria did mention, I think that happened once. Me and your brother, your late brother, we, at one time, when we were championing coffee, we made statements that from now on, Kenya coffee will not leave Mombasa in bags. It will live in either cans or in tins, value added. The Chancellor of Germany came here. And the reason we were saying that was we just come from Berlin, where they were congregating all the world coffees from the Latinos, from Africa, from wherever, and then exporting it. Can you imagine that Germany then was the biggest exporter of coffee, and there isn't even one bush of coffee in that place? But they were the biggest exporters of coffee. When we came back, we said, now this does not make sense. And these fellows are dictating prices to us, that this is how much we will buy your coffee. And one time we asked, and I remember it was a meeting where then the president was Kibaki. That's why the man came. As when we want to buy a Mercedes, you walk to the showroom, and you have no option to discuss the price. The price is fixed, it's there. Take it or leave it. So why is it that our coffee people are telling us how we should take it to them? Your Excellency, you have traveled, and all of you have traveled. You have gone to all these cities, all these Starbucks, and wherever in the world. Tell me, Where did you go and find in a cafe that this is Kenya AA, this is Kenya AMB, this is Kenya PB? Nowhere. All of it is Kenya AA, wherever you go. What happens? At the exchange here, a bag of AA maybe that week or that month was bought at $450. Now the other bags, the lower grades, would you believe it? Some of them go for as low as $50. $50 per bag of 50 kg. That is $1 a kilo. If you divide that kilo by 6.5 to get how much that is in sherry, it is cents. It is not even shillings. If you divide, how much that is, in terms of sherry. So what we have to look at today, and I am happy we are talking about value addition, is for how long? Those of you who do not know the history of cooperatives and the history of coffee, is that coffee, when it was brought by the white man, by the colonialist, it was not meant for you, it was meant for them. Even after you got independence and you grow the coffee, it is not yours. It's meant for them. 60 years later, after we've all gone to school and we are where we are today, we are still behaving like my grandfather was the one who started planting that coffee. It is time to change. And it is time to change, and I think that this conference will come up with what it is that we are looking for in terms of reforms in the coffee sector, so that the farmer eventually gets what is due for them. But I do know it's not going to be easy. But I'm happy because now I can see where it is being championed from. I'm very comfortable. I know it will work. Because these people are not easy. I want to see Raisi, even when we are doing it at the Senate, one day you would get one of our members saying, but you know these things, why are we removing these people? Who is going to sell the coffee for us? Our coffee sells itself. Yes. It is known worldwide. All you need to do is remove those fellows. The reason why we are poor as coffee farmers is because our coffee is not available to the people who want to pay top dollar for it. The other fellows, the fellows who manipulate the NSC are only 6, Your Excellency. They are not more than 6 fellows who manipulate the NSC. They are 6. I'll give you the names so you can get to know who they are in different names. And I know you know because you mentioned they come in different forms. One company and another company. And I can tell you, keep carry on, when they started trading with the good beans of Korea, now they're getting top dollar. All the other farmers here who deal with directly with the importers, they're getting top dollar. But our own people, the leadership of cooperatives, they don't want that. Why? They want to UCO. Those years when we were going to school and getting and paying school fees, I want to finish. This is the very last one. When it's coffee, I can speak the whole day. But those days when we were doing that, our cooperative societies were not in debt. They were not in debt at all. Because, number one, the first AGM of the year is to fix the budgets for the year. So where are we borrowing? We are borrowing money to do what? Today you are being told everywhere that we need to pay this. I'm sure wherever he goes, is we want subsidy. Really, for what? What happened to the money? And coffee was not given, coffee was paid. Anyway, I want to end there right now. I don't want to end there, but I have to end there because of the
time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. The reason why we have problems, and fortunately I was at the cooperatives, and we changed the laws before I left. The problem we have in our cooperatives is the leadership in our cooperatives. We have leaders who don't even have that coffee. Can you imagine that you have a chairman of a cooperative for 2 years was 200 kilograms? Where do you think he will eat? Eh? This fellow will move his office, his sitting room to the society. So you find 9 of them in your towns, weko huku Meru, from one cooperative society, until they have come to see the bank manager and get their stipends. That is where our problem is. Our problem starts from down there. And I know because we have discussed this with the Minister Cherugui, that this, if we can enforce those laws is what kind of leadership. And now I know it is going to happen. Because I know those days fellows would even want to go to court and say, no, you cannot interfere with our cooperatives. You know, about markets, and I am happy, C.S. Kuria also talked about opening new markets. At one time, we had finished issues of marketing Kenya coffee. We got All China Federation of Cooperatives. Those of you who don't know, China is a cooperative country. And their vice chairman, the chairman came here, and he met President Kibaki then. And we agreed that all Kenyan coffee will be processed and packaged here and labeled in Chinese and taken to their supermarkets. Those supermarkets also are cooperatives. Do you know what happened, Your Excellency? KPCU was supposed to be the one doing that. They took me to court. Walipeleka waziri kwa court. Wakasema, you cannot interfere with us, we are a private entity. Fortunately, for them, elections came and I was voted out. So it was very fortunate for them. But, but that did not silence me. I am here today, talking about the same thing and saying we know the market for our coffee is there. And those low grades which are fetching $70 and $100 at the exchange, wacha tusifanyie hapa Meru. The problem is that we don't consume our own coffee. When we were going to school and getting top dollar on our coffee, we were consuming our coffee. Most of you will remember Kahawa Ngoma, Kahawa #1, KK Kahawa. Those were our coffees and they were available. Today you go to the kiosk here, you will not find coffee there. You won't find. You would have found a Nescafe imported from other places. Our coffee is not there, Your Excellency. Yet our farmers are getting cents for coffee, which we ought to have done in Meru here. So I want to congratulate you, C.S. Kuria, for what you are doing. Let us get those low grades which fetch nothing out there. Let us value add those things here. Let's value add here, locally, and consume it here. Can you imagine, Governor Kawera, if all your schools were consuming that coffee? And you know coffee is good for students. If they are consuming that coffee, right? So you've already got a market for that coffee. Your hospitals, everywhere, we've got a market for our coffee. It is there. And the opening of warehouses. Africa alone, Your Excellency, right now with our 40,000 metric tons, it is not enough. It's not enough. Kupeleka Africa, only here Africa. Wacha kusumbua na mzungu. No, you said you don't want to sound racist. Me, I'm Mau, so me, I don't care. Muzungu can go wherever they can go. Because those are people who have impoverished us deliberately. Deliberate. The agents are here. One fellow is a miller. He buys our coffee, but he's buying on behalf of several outlets out there. When you go out there, ask the small roasters. There's one roaster, I mentioned that to Mheshimiwa Cherugui, who showed me invoices of how much he had bought Kenyan coffee. I didn't know that Kenyan coffee is bagged coffee. Even the lights are there. And he was buying that coffee at $1,200 a bag, right? When you check where the bag came from, maybe at the auction here it was something else. Check this if you want to prove me right. When we have sold our coffee at the exchange, by the time it gets to Mombasa, nataka uende Mombasa when it's being loaded, and check, you will not see a bag labeled Kenya AA, or Kenya B, or Kenya PB, or Kenya whatever. No, all of it is Kenya coffee. Fellows who will buy our coffee, some at whatever price, then all of it is bagged together. And when it gets there, it is Kenya coffee. We are also losing money. We are looking for money now as a government and as a country. In that process, we are losing a lot of money. And those are some of the things we need to look at. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Honorable Ndwiga, for that. I think you're a voice that we need to listen to more and more. And I've received, I'm seeing a request from Honorable Mbarire to ask a quick question. My suggestion is let's take that question and then I will indicate how we are proceeding to close, because we need to close.
Well, mine is not a question. I just want to add my voice because I feel we know the problem and we know where we want to get. And being a child of coffee, educated with coffee, I want to get to the bottom of it without missing words. One, our coffee sector is predominantly 3 companies. And I'll mention them. I don't know why we don't want to mention them. We have Newman, we have Econ, and Sukafina. Or is it Sukafina, something like that. They mill in the following companies. Newman has a milling company called NKG Coffee Mill. Ecom has a milling company called Central Kenya Coffee Mill. Sukafina has Kahawa Bora Millers. And Ecom again has another one called CMS Mills Limited. The same companies transform themselves into marketers. Ecom has a marketing company called Coffee Management Services. Newman has a marketing company called Tropical Farm Management. Sukafina has one called Suka Sustainability. Ecom has another one called Oaklands Coffee Management. Ecom has another one called Sustainability Management. Then they move ahead and become buyers. Newman has one called Ibero, a buyer. Ecom has one called C. Doman. Sukafina has Kenya Coffee Limited. Now, if we don't deal with those cartels, because those are the cartels we are talking about, we will be wasting 2 days here pretending, talking, going round, and we are not mentioning those names. I have mentioned them. Let me see what happens to me today. It's about time we face those people on the face and tell them enough is enough. So stop going around these stories. And they come every time key ministers are appointed. All they do is go to them, and I'm very happy these ones have said no. Go to them with briefcases with dollars. And then they stop taking care of the farmers. So today I want to know, are we dealing with these cartels or not? And if we are dealing with them, how? How are we dealing with these cartels? Because let me tell you, we cannot continue to lead farmers who are suffering, not because they don't work hard, because we have cartels who have taken over even those cooperative societies. They make sure these cooperative societies never work. When there are elections, their chairmen, they prefer, they finance them, they give them money to take their coffee to be milled in their milling companies. We must deal with them squarely. And that is what I want to hear happening today. Otherwise, mutuambie hatuwezi, na muambie Deputy President hamwezi, tutoke twende. Na tusidanganyane hapa. This is a problem. Let us face it today.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for Honorable Governor Cecily Mbarire. Your Excellency, this takes us very, very well as a segue to our next panel, which is basically going to be led by the governors. But before we do that, I would like us to put our hands together for our panelists.
PS.
No, just a moment.
Yes. I think Cecily Mbarire has said something very important.
And
it's important we all give the commitment to Cecily Mbarire, because Linturi here is a licensing authority, and he may want to say something about that.
Excellent. So let us have direct responses to what Honorable Mbarire has said. From where you sit, what are you going to do?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm very proud of Cecily's Mbarire's courage and really mentioning up those people that are really trying to fleece our farmers. I was trying to ask Kuria, because this is the first time to hear about these companies at my level. But why are you shouting? I'm telling you, when this conference was brought here, and I think the Deputy President said, Meru is a country of brave men. I'm the one who has asked to speak. And I've asked to speak because I cannot feign ignorance. I am very particular when it comes to some issues of integrity and issues that touch on our people. I've picked this mic to ask my coffee directorate from HAFA to confirm whether these people are licensed by us and by HAFA, so that I can make a commitment on what we want to do. That's what why I'm saying. Aundi, are you here? I'm a chairman HAFA. Aundi, Akuma, you are the coffee. Who is the director coffee? Please answer to this matter.
Hello. Okay, Mr. Audi, or the people that have been referred to, we want a quick and direct answer. Let's listen to them. Quick and direct answer.
Hello.
Let's listen, please, let's listen.
Yes, it is true. It is true. Thank you, His Excellency, the Deputy President. The CS, it is true. I want to confirm. I'm Benson Apoyo, the Acting Director, Coffee Directorate. It is true, as has been confirmed by Her Excellency Cecily Mbarire. It is true that they are licensed by us, Coffee Directorate, under AFA, Agriculture and Food Authority. It is true.
Okay, so we have the answer.
So this is the direction I'm giving. Immediately we come back to the office on Tuesday morning. We'll have a meeting with you. We cannot allow this to happen. If they want to take me to court, they can do it. We will sit down and see how to revoke those licenses so that we have a way of to end that cartel nature. Although Ndrega tells me the coffee bill is also a solution to the problems that the industry is facing. But before we get to the passage of the law, I will deal with it as long as I have the force and the power of law to deal with it next week.
Thank you very, very much. I think this goes to the core of why we are here. And regardless of the issues of time, I think we really need to spend some time getting some responses. And let's hear now from Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives.
Yeah, Your Excellency, on that point by Cecily Mbarire, the coffee bill, which I mentioned in my presentation, has some gaps. And those gaps can only be, they have mentioned actions like you cannot be a marketer, you cannot be a broker, you cannot be a processor in that bill. But the process has taken almost 10, 15 years. And there is deliberate intention to delay it. So for us, Your Excellency, the direction you gave, immediately after we are done here, we will convene and redo, and I believe the drafters are here. We convene the Office of the Auditor General, of the Attorney General, and also parliamentary drafters and Senate drafters. We ask them to come so that we can pick these issues and capture them in the law. My colleague here has committed that he can handle them administratively, but that could be short term because they will frustrate again through the process. But still, Monday and Tuesday, if you take that action, honestly, we can begin to feel and see the impact of this coffee reform.